Where we at? 686 days from the date of Young Thug's arrest. Jury selection was longer than the O.J. Simpson trial. You didn't had a witness being placed in jail for not testifying. You didn't had a lawyer almost placed in jail. You didn't had a judge who presided over the case for 18 months, no longer on the case. And guess what, y'all? We ain't even halfway through. But I need y'all to know, it appears there is a new sheriff in town.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. He bought his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believe in high level represent. Call your first witness. Yeah, call your first witness.
Where you at, beautiful people? How you doing? How you living? How life treating you? Welcome to another episode of Call Your First Witness. You already know it's your boy, K. Will. Thank you for tuning in. Let's make it happen, y'all. You know what time it is. I appreciate the love, the likes, the listens, all that great stuff. I just need y'all to know I'm fueled by all the support. And listen, your boy growing. Speaking of growth, I got to share something with y'all. Last year, your boy was in Vegas. It was my wife's birthday. She wanted to go see Usher. You know what I mean? Usher had his residency there in Vegas. If you know, you know, right? We had a good time, good vibes. Had my sister-in-law with me, my brother-in-law with me, man. We just had a blast. You dig? Everything about that whole experience was memorable. The wife was happy, so you know I was happy. But man, look, there's always something that'll put a damper in it. Your boy lost his wedding ring. Man, I'm still like really upset about that. You know what I mean? I went a whole week, couldn't tell a wife, didn't know what to say. Had like, man, what we gonna do? What I'm gonna do? Not what we gonna do, what I'm gonna do. But you know, everything was cool. I was still mad at myself. And for a while, man, I had like a temporary wedding band, right? Trying to figure out, you know, how you gonna replace something like that. So anyway, I ran across a nice collection. It's called the Vintage Gentleman. I got the link on my page. Look them up. I got a replacement, y'all. It's nice. It's sleek. I like the look. Fellas, if that special day is near, check the link out, y'all. They got a good collection. They even got something for the ladies. Check that with your girl first, right? But they got a good collection for men. And it's not just wedding bands. They got wallets. They got leather bags, all that good stuff. I wouldn't promote it if I didn't have it, right? And so I like what I have. This is your boy's first ad to come from the heart. I'm happy about it. The wife's happy about it. And, you know, that was a bad situation. But, you know, I'm a lawyer, so I got to turn something bad into something good. So I appreciate the Vintage Gentleman. Check them out. The link is on my page. All you got to do is click on it. They got a lot of discounts, a lot of sales going on. If you listening on podcasts, go to my YouTube page on this episode and look for the link. All you got to do is click the link and everything going to pop up. All right, so your boy growing. Shout out to the Vintage Gentleman. Look at me, y'all. Growing. And don't get me wrong, it's really because of you listening, reminding me that I'm just not some random dude turning on the mic and just babbling, right? Like I see the love, I appreciate the love, and I can't thank you enough. But anyway, man, listen, Young Thug, where we at? Day 101? Yes, right? 686 days from the date of Young Thug's arrest. This case been going on for 18 months. This case, jury selection was longer than the O.J. Simpson trial. Yo, you didn't had a witness being placed in jail for not testifying. You didn't had a lawyer almost placed in jail for simply defending his client. You done had a judge who presided over the case for 18 months, no longer on the case. What else? You done had a lawyer who represented a co-defendant for Donald Trump, made a cameo appearance to represent Brian Steele when Brian Steele was ordered to go to jail, right? What else? You done had Kayla Bumpus, who fell out the sky to represent Kenneth Copeland, a.k.a. Woody. She came in to represent him. Woody then fired her. She got fired. The judge asked her to report back to court because the judge thought she was the mole. She didn't hire lawyers. She had a team of lawyers. You had lawyers on top of lawyers. Defense lawyers filing all these motions to recuse the judge. You had the judge who was evaluating the case to determine whether or not she needed to recuse Judge Glanville. You had a motion filed to recuse her. Yo, almost everything under the sun done happened in this trial. And guess what, y'all? We ain't even halfway through. But I need y'all to know, it appears that there is a new sheriff in town. Oh, yes. Judge Whitaker. It just appears. I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you saw. Judge Whitaker had a lot. I just want to meet y'all. We're going to do a little meet and greet. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? Some of you, most of you I know, but let's just kind of, let's just do some housekeeping. Judge Whitaker, nice, smiling, laughing, real nice demeanor, all this kind of stuff. But by the way, y'all, all this dragging the court long and drawn out, we ain't having that. Oh, no. What is this, the 18th month? What's going on? What we doing? No. State, I need, in defense, if any witnesses y'all gonna call, let me go ahead and get a list. Because I need to make sure we not having this cumulative effect. Meaning, we ain't having witnesses on top of witnesses coming up in here saying the same thing. We gonna cut that short. Oh, yes. Judge Whitaker, she ain't playing around. I need you to know that. See, listen, all this, I'm seeing defendants eating during trial. You got a witness on the stand, and they got a buffet going on at the defense table, right? What's that all about? You got defendants listening to music with earplugs on. This is going on during the trial. She see what we see. She gotta see when Young Thug, you didn't see them videos when Young Thug, he bobbing his head on music in the middle of the trial, y'all. She seeing that? You don't think she seeing that? She what's going on? Judge Whitaker's listen, I don't know a whole lot about this case. I just flew in on a parachute. Give me some time to get up to speed, but let me tell you what I do know. What I do know, all this heated arguments and back and forth and hitting below the belt, we gonna cut that short. And if we not gonna do it, y'all, we gonna have to talk. Oh, yeah. So, see, Judge Whitaker is setting the tenor and the tone. She listen, we ain't doing that. We not dragging this. All this bickering and back and forth and mudslinging. Oh, no. Not on my watch. And she really went in on, listen, I'm seeing lawyers acting less than professional. I'm seeing a lower level of decorum. And I will not tolerate that in my courtroom. She's setting the tenor and the tone. It reminds me, I used to be a high school football official, right? I used to do this even before law school, but I did it pretty much all throughout law school. And the beauty of it was it wasn't a demanding job, so it allowed me to do my law school work. But on Friday nights, I would call a game, right? And so I did it in Baton Rouge. I was going to the Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge. Shout out to SULC. If you know, you know. And so I'm calling games in Baton Rouge, and one of the biggest rivals I would have on my schedule is McKinley versus Scotlandville. Right, that's a big rival. Two Baton Rouge teams, a lot of talent on the field, well-known coaches. You got the bands going back and forth. Remember, I went to Southern, y'all. If you haven't heard of them, I know you heard of the Human Jukebox. And so at these high schools, you got these bands mimicking the Human Jukebox. Some of these musicians on their way to play for Southern University, So you got the battle of the bands element. You got this atmosphere. It's a rival. Think about your high school rival. Think about the Saints versus the Falcons. Whatever your team is, think about the rival. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of tensions flaring. It's intense. It may be fights, all that going on. And so as a high school referee, we had to set the tone. Oh, no. We know this is a rival. We know y'all going to go back and forth. But guess what? We're not going to let this happen on our watch. And so out the gate, we would call flags. We would eject people out the game. Man, I think we had to throw a flag on the band. Like, nah, we ain't doing this. Out the gate. And so what we were doing was we were setting the tone. I know tensions flare. I know this a rivalry. I know there's animosity, but we not gonna have this. Judge Whitaker is saying, I didn't seen the videos. I didn't seen the level of decorum, subpar. I didn't seen the lack of professionalism. We not gonna have this. I got to believe out the gate when they start the trial, maybe August 5th, maybe a little later, depending on the motions filed by the lawyers, I believe she gonna throw those flags early, right? She gonna let folks know out the gate, yes, I'm sweet and I'm nice, but if you cross that line, I'm gonna check you right then and there. Because as lawyers, we assess the judges we dealing with also. We know some of the things we can get away with and what we probably can't get away with, right? Not saying we do it purposefully, but we know what judges are more stern than others. We know what judges we could kind of tote the line. I know, man, if I say this in closing or if I say this in opening, the judge may give me a warning, but that's about it. But if I say something like this in front of another judge, oh, they're going to let me have it. And if they let me have it in front of the jury, that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to just keep it safe and not say it at all. And so Judge Whitaker appears to be someone that's not going to play around with all that back and forth, right? And so, I said this in my first episode. When I'm trying a case, I want to know everything there is to know about the lawyers and the judge. And so my research about Judge Whitaker is she's tough, but she's fair. And listen, I'll take that every day of the week, right? I don't mind if you're stern, you're tough, you don't got time to play, you trying to move this docket. I just need you to be fair. But what I'm also hearing is she's efficient. It was said that she probably has the lowest case count on the docket at that courthouse. So that's telling me she don't got time to be playing around and having these long drawn out hearings, long days, showing up late. She already said, listen, I need all the lawyers here at 8:45. If you're not here, that's your problem. We moving. And so, again, she's making it clear there's a new sheriff in town. And she's running a tight ship. And so it's going to be very interesting because we have this interim period where the judge is getting up to speed, but you still got motions being filed. The defense lawyer is like, this is like motion paradise. There's some motions that were filed that just sat on the judge's desk. They were never heard. Can we address them now? And so the judge is saying, yes, we can. I'd rather us not do that when we start back the trial. I don't know why we didn't address all this before we started the trial, but here we are, and so we're going to address them. But she also threw out there, look, we're not just going to be filing motions willy-nilly just for the sake of having motions and hearing them. We're not doing that. Right? So because as defense lawyers, we like to preserve that record. And if you're going to give us time, we're going to take advantage of that time. Ain't no question about it. And so Brian Steele addresses a very important issue. He says, listen, Judge, when we filed the motion to recuse the judge, and most importantly, when Doug Weinstein, Mr. Kendrick's lawyer, Yak Gotti's lawyer, filed his motion, what the law says, even when he initially filed it, the motion wasn't granted. What the law says is if the judge ultimately is removed from the case based on the motion for recusal, everything that transpired after that motion is invalid. And he's saying, listen, Judge, Doug Weinstein filed his motion on June 12th. Yeah, we filed it on June 17th, but what we're saying is on June 12th, everything after that is invalid. And Judge, the reason why that's important is because Kenneth Copeland, a.k.a. Woody, was on the stand, and he testified multiple times since June 12th. And what he's saying is everything after that should be thrown out. But the question is, how do you unring a bell? How do you, and he said, listen, maybe we need to take the notes from the jury members, right? They already heard it. They already digest whatever Mr. Copeland said. So that's going to be interesting. What do you do with that? And that's why I believe we still going to hear motions for mistrials, meaning everything needed to be thrown out. You can't piecemeal Kenneth Copeland's testimony. And then Brian Steele filed another motion on behalf of Young Thug saying, listen, Miss Love and Miss Hilton need to be disqualified. Because of what transpired in that private meeting, and because misrepresentations were made to get Kenneth Copeland to testify, because Judge Glanville was also in that meeting and he's recused, we want to inquire everything surrounding that meeting for purposes of defending our client with the utmost diligence. And what Brian Steele was saying, listen, since we weren't in that meeting, Kenneth Copeland testified, and whatever transpired in that meeting was the impetus to get him to testify. After that meeting, we want to inquire any and everything that came out of that meeting, i.e., we want to question Miss Love. We want to question Miss Hilton. And we want to question Judge Glanville. Oh, yes. And so that's his motion. He's saying we got to disqualify these prosecutors. Very compelling argument. Honestly, I don't think he's going to prevail on this one. It's compelling and make a whole lot of sense because you better believe what was said in that meeting is fair game. That transcript is fair game to Kenneth Copeland. And I anticipate the defense lawyers asking questions to Kenneth Copeland about what was said to him by Miss Love, by Miss Hilton, and even by the judge about that meeting. I believe that that's fair game. I don't know how you not talk about that. Right? And so most of us following this realize Judge Glanville being removed from this case was a win for the defense. But there may be another win that I don't hear nobody really talking about, and it is the optics of the judge no longer being on this case. Right? Let me break this down for y'all. And I'm not going to stay too long, y'all, but it's the optics. Think about it. In every case, when there's a trial and there's a jury, the judge always instructs the jury, when you leave this courtroom, I don't want you looking up this case on TV, in a newspaper, on social media. I don't want you talking to anybody about this case. You are supposed to be confined to all the evidence that's coming from that witness stand. And let me tell you something, y'all. That's just not realistic. That just doesn't happen. Mistrials are granted, meaning we're going to have to do a do-over because information was leaked that a jury member went home, got on social media or read a newspaper and found out some information about the case. And the worst part about it, the information never came out during trial. And I don't know if you know, but the news always get it wrong. Right? Like, I'm sorry, they always get it wrong. If you looking for just the news to figure out exactly what happened in trial, that ain't the place to go. You gonna get a general understanding of what happened, but if you ain't in that courtroom, some things are just gonna be misrepresented. I'm sorry. You gonna probably get the essence of what happened, but the intricate details, I mean, you might don't get it. I'm sorry. You just, I didn't sat in trials before, been a part of trials before. I was like, wait, that didn't happen, right? I've been misquoted before. And so you don't want jury members to get information about a case from the news, from social media, from something that wasn't tested on that witness stand, i.e. cross-examination, i.e. authenticated, right? A foundation was laid. You don't want them making decisions based on anything outside of that. But I got to believe the big elephant in the room for the jury is, wait a second. Is it all surprising when the jury members show up? Do we really believe it's going to be a shock to them? Like, oh my goodness, what happened to Judge Glanville? Or they going to already know that he's no longer on the case? But most importantly, they're going to want to know why he's no longer on the case. Yes, so the why, I'm not saying this is happening. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying human nature may creep in. And if not, just one person may want to know, why is Judge Glanville no longer on this case? Because you got to understand, when all these arguments are made, and most of y'all know this, when all these arguments are made, they're not in the courtroom. They're not supposed to know anything about that ex parte meeting. They're not supposed to know who was in the room. They're not supposed to know what was said. They're not supposed to know about that. Now, they may eventually know, because I anticipate the defense lawyers to bring it up. But the intricate details, they're definitely not supposed to know why Judge Glanville is no longer on the case. I don't believe they need to know that. I think that hurts the state. Because once you realize why the judge was no longer on the case, and even at the very least what he did presented an appearance of impropriety, then you got to think that, well, heck, the DA, Miss Love and Miss Hilton, they were in that room too. So what was going on in that room? And so from an optics standpoint, it doesn't look too well from the state when the jury wants to know why Judge Glanville was no longer on the case. They're not supposed to know that officially, but are we really supposed to think that at least one person ain't going to try to look that information up? I'm just saying. I hope it doesn't happen. The last thing you want is jury members looking up information, because it can help you or it can hurt you. So I would rather them not know. But let's not act like somebody is not curious on that jury. Why they come to court early Monday morning and they got a white woman on the bench and they've been looking at a black man looking like Suge Knight for the past 18 months. I'm just saying, y'all. So I think that's something that I gotta believe that the state thought about, but you know, I would think that they want to keep this thing moving, right? Like, to press the reset button all the way from the beginning, that's going to take obviously a lot of everything. That's going to be crazy. But yeah, y'all, there's a new sheriff in town and she ain't playing around. A lot of motions are being filed or already filed. They will be heard. And I think the judge is going to continue to let folks know, listen, we not doing all what was done in the past. Nah, not today. Not today. Not on my watch. So y'all, that's my time. I'm gonna stay tuned. We got this big pivot. Listen, y'all, let's keep it real. We gonna miss Judge Glanville. Come on, he was a character. Obviously, he had to get off the case. You know, he was venturing into that unfair space, but he was a character. Like he brought something to the show. No more going off on Brian Steele. No more going off on Doug Weinstein. Occasionally going off on Miss Love. He had his dog. You know what I mean? We may miss him. I'm just saying, and I mean that only for purposes of the show. He was a fixture, right? He would make some people mad. He would make some people laugh. Right, we got somebody who we don't quite know, but we gonna get to know really quick. But I got reason to believe she ain't playing around, and she gonna let folks know she ain't playing around. And it's not just because this is a high-profile case, because remember, she already has that label as being efficient, being tough, and also being fair. And like I said, that's all we want. So that's my time, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Keep sharing the message. Subscribe, like, follow, all that great stuff, y'all. I'm going to keep bringing it. Until next time, that's my time, y'all. Later.
Call your first witness. I got Kenneth Willis. He bought his business, he gon' take it the distance. Listen, he giving gaming, believe in high level represent. Call your first witness. Yeah, call your first witness.
Griff has been paid for this endorsement.